Hello, welcome back to Mr. Bob's Build. Today's episode is a bit of a mixed bag. I'm going to be talking about the building and priming of the limbers I've bought for this project, and to go on to introduce the accessories and figures that I've got to go with the gun. So to start, I'm going to be looking at the limber. Before we get into it, let's have a quick look at this photo because it helps to place what these limbers are and what they do. On the left we have a team of 6 horses towing a gun. Now between the gun and the horses is the limber carriage, and 2 of the crew are sitting on top of that limber. The limber they're sitting on probably holds 24 rounds of ammunition. To the right of that team is a further team of 6 horses. This time it's towing 2 separate limbers. These would be larger limbers, each carrying 38 rounds. My understanding is that the 3 limbers of ammunition would be the initial in-field supplies for a section of 2 guns. And now to the models. Having built the gun, which I was very pleased with, I decided that really it needed limbers to go with it. So I went back to WD Models and bought the set that they've just brought out. Parts for 3 separate models are provided. I'll talk a bit more about these in turn. To say a bit about the kit, the separate vehicles are contained in separate snappy bags, and also provided are 4 small frets of photo etch. The use of photo etch parts is pretty optional here, but they really do add to the finish of the final model. We'll start by taking a more detailed look now at the limber carriage. The descriptions that I provide have been taken from the instruction sheet of WD Models. These can be downloaded from the website. The ammunition box of the limber was built of steel plate with the front hinge plate and the sides of bulletproof steel. The lid was hinged to the frame and opened downwards. It was padded on the inside with a felt and leather cover. A metal cage underneath held stores, including 12 canvas buckets. The limber carried 24 rounds of ammunition. The parts for this carriage are laid out on the instruction sheet. The box is made of resin, the main parts are white metal, and of course there are the brass photo etch parts as well. The parts go together very nicely, and here you see the finished carriage. On top of the carriage is a Lee Enfield rifle. Each carriage carried 2 such rifles, and these are provided in the kit parts. It's just placed loosely on that built model there for effect. The baskets on the underside of the carriage are represented by photo etch parts, and these are very nice. The small hooks on the front side of the carriage are photo etch parts too. These were the hooks to which the horse teams were attached. These are a bit of a so-and-so to attach, but well worth the effort, I think. Next up, it's the limber ammunition wagon. This was of similar construction to the carriage limber, but the frame was wider to take a larger ammunition box. It had a similar metal cage underneath the wagon, and it carried 38 rounds of ammunition. I decided to model this wagon in the open position. Again, this went together very nicely. I used the photo etch parts for the shields at the bottom of the opening. As with the limber, I used the photo etch towing hooks, which you can see to the rear of the vehicle there. And again, I used the grab handles, which were also photo etch parts, which are at the top of the limber. And I used those grab handle parts for the previous model I displayed too. Finally, we come to the ammunition wagon. The ammunition box was the same as the ammunition limber and also carried 38 rounds. This had a separate brake which was actuated by a handle on the rear frame. It differed from the other limbers in that it had no metal cage underneath. And here it is built, again fit together very, very nicely. I've used a photo etch part for the shield at the bottom of the very bottom of the open flap there. However, while I'd have liked to have put the small hooks at the back of it and the photo etch grab handles, unfortunately only 2 sets of each are provided in the set. Well, the cast parts are fine, the photo etch was much better, and I'd have liked to use them for this one too, but I'm happy to live with what's there. Although I have to admit that I mucked up the cast hooks at the back, which you can't see, so I had to file them off in the end, but I don't think they're going to notice on the final model. Just my clumsiness. And here we see the 3 limbers together in their final condition. First of all, there's the front and the rear shot. You can see that the middle wagon, the ammunition wagon, is missing the hooks at the back. And here they are primed up and ready to go. Although it does look I might need to straighten one of those wheels out. Now a quick look at some accessories and ancillaries I've got for this particular build. Barry Williams, the proprietor of WD Models, has seen my YouTube efforts and the International Scale Model Forum entries, and very kindly sent these shell boxes and shells along with my last order. Thank you for that, Barry. It's very kind of you. I'll be sure to place a couple of each on the diorama I built. And here they are, primed up, ready to go. You'll see more of those once painted. I must admit I'm a bit pleased with myself for the way I'm painting those shells. I drilled holes, pushed the shells through so the tips show through. That'll allow brass to be painted for the cartridge case, and brass for the fuse at the top, and allow the middle part to remain as the natural metal colour for the shell part. Little workarounds like that make me very happy. It's a model show. I came across a company called Early War Miniatures. We make a wide range of models for the First and Second World War periods in 1/76 scale. And here we see a gun pit accessory set and a couple of infantrymen from Early War Miniatures. These parts are quite crude in comparison with the WD Models efforts. But man for man, the infantry there, for example, cost about half the cost of WD Miniatures. They're nowhere near as good though. They look very good painted up in a large army, but not for a single diorama type model that I'm building. From that pile, I think the only thing I'm going to be using is the spent shell cases. While at the show, I also saw some vac form trench systems that they produce, really quite reasonable price, and they look excellent. And I think I might be buying one of those and doing that up as diorama at some stage, and those parts will work excellently with that. I'll be coming back to Early War Miniatures before the end of this video, but let's go now and have a quick look at the figures I'm going to be doing. As you might have seen on a previous video, I've got a 6-man gun team from WD Models, and you've seen the heads being painted too. These are wonderful figures with cracking poses. But to add a bit of variety into the diorama, I've also purchased some other sets. And here you see 2 sets of sappers, one being sandbaggers and the other one being a wiring party, and a set of 3 infantrymen. The infantrymen will be used as they are, but for the other figures I've taken one each out of each of those bags of sappers, and we'll be working them into the gun team. I like these figures because they're working in shirt sleeves, and the light blue shirts is going to add a nice bit of contrast to the otherwise very green, very brown scene that's going to be portrayed. 2 figures I've chosen both need a bit of work to make them fit in with the rest of the team though. Here are the 2 that I've chosen to convert. The chap on the left has been taken from the sandbagging set, and he's posed there to stick his spade into this pile of sand. The chap kneeling has been taken from the wiring party, and he's poised ready for someone to hit that stake with a hammer. I'll show you how I'm going to pose them in a minute, but the big job there is to take away those 2 bags that they're carrying, and to try to disguise the straps that attaches them. This is in order that their wonderful braces can be viewed on the final model. The braces actually are a stunning carving. Here his bag has been cut off, but I haven't yet made a start on those straps. And his spade hand is ready for some very savage action. And this is how he's going to appear on the final model, putting his back into getting that gun into position. The crew member kneeling, I wanted to look like the character in this photograph, which you can see kneeling down with the shell resting on his left arm to be slid into the breech with his right hand. And here he is posed with the gun. Both arms needed extensive surgery. The left arm was a case of bending and reinforcing to stop it snapping. The right arm needed breaking at the elbow, and most of the lower arm is made from a 2-part epoxy putty. But I think he's going to work out well. Now back to early war miniatures. At the show I mentioned earlier, I saw on their stand this gun crew set painted up, and it looked good. And it was in shirt sleeves, so again that caught my eye. It was reasonably priced, so I bought it. But once home and comparing them with the WD Models figures, I decided only to use 2 of the figures. And those will be the officer in the middle of the top row with his binoculars. I think that's a nice pose. His head's going to come off and one of the WD Models heads will be put on it. And the other one is the figure bottom right whose head's already off. He's going to be posed pushing on a wheel of a limber somewhere. About it. It's going to give me a round dozen figures for the diorama. And here they are all assembled. It's a pleasing selection of poses. And the shirt sleeve order chaps with their blue shirts is going to add a bit of a splash of colour to an otherwise drab scene. And here they are with the primer on. And looking at that picture now, I'm really quite excited about getting stuck in and painting those. Given that this is the first time I'm going to be painting figures at this scale, I've already had a go at one of them in order to work out my process. I have to say that it went very well. So well, in fact, that I've decided that in the next episode of Mr. Bob's Builds, I will do a step-by-step walkthrough of my process. Hopefully this will be a mix of photo and video. So whet your appetite then. I'll leave you a picture of the single figure that I have painted. I hope that interested you sufficiently to come back soon and have a look at how it was done. So, it's goodbye for now. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you'll come back soon.